Part 22. After Rebirth, Boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, Beautiful. Chapter 211. Chapter 211 Returning with a full load. Yunsu raised her eyebrows. She didn't know that this card was so useful. Qin Jiao gave it to her. He just said that it could be used under the Junya group. She thought it was just a card that could be used for discounts. Such discount cards were accepted without much thought. Okay, Yunsu nodded and took back the card. Li Chuang and Zhang Meng were stunned. Things developed so fast that they didn't even react until Yunsu went to change out of their clothes. Is your store crazy? You are rushing to give money to people, what kind of messy cards? We have never heard of it. Li Chuang was still thinking, but Zhang Meng had already started to yell. The store manager's smile condensed slightly. Ms. Yun is a distinguished customer of our store. There are no more than 5 holders of that card in China. It's normal for you not to know. She had already checked the holder of this card just now, already knew Yunsu's name, and at the same time finally understood what the familiar feeling in her heart was about. What do you mean? You mean I haven't seen the world, right? Zhang Meng was furious. You misunderstood, I didn't mean it that way. The store manager's smile completely disappeared. In the eyes of a thoughtful person, a sentence can be interpreted in countless ways. Her patience was about to run out. This kind of customer was not welcome in their store. Zhang Meng stared and wanted to say something, but Li Chuang stopped her and said, "Stop talking. Miss Yunsu, your clothes." The store manager handed over the wrapped shopping bag with both hands and spoke a name clearly. Qiu Xinyuan, right, Yunsu had actually heard it just now. She glanced at her casually. The second son of the Qiu family, who has so much time to go to college, seems to be not as good as his brother, but he is quite similar to me. Of. Your surname is Yun, she had no idea yet. Zhang Meng, who was silent at the side, suddenly thought of something and his eyes widened. He is known to the outside world as a relative's child, but the upper-class people in Lanjing know very well which family would recognize such a big child. It's just that no one has taken off Qiu Zilong's fig leaf. Let's go. Li Chuang pulled Zhang Meng and was about to leave. I heard that the eldest son of the Qiu family has done a big business for the Qiu family recently, and was praised by Mr. Qiu. What about Qiu Xinyuan? What does he do? Drink in bars and play with women, Yunsu said slowly. Every sentence poked at Li Chuang's pain points. Qiu Zilong was also a cruel man, and he didn't care about his biological son outside. After his biological mother passed away, he lived a hard life by himself. It wasn't until he grew up that he showed his unusual business talent, and was noticed by Qiu Zilong and took over. Go back. The card that Yunsu took out at random was so powerful. The clerk's attitude immediately changed. It proved that she was not an ordinary person. She had a bad feeling. Wait a minute, came a lazy female voice. Why are you walking in such a hurry? Tell me what you were talking about just now. How much more knowledgeable is Zhang Meng, who knows who can offend and who cannot. Nowadays, the eldest son of the Qiu family, Qiu, is still outstanding. He even joined the Qiu group before graduating from college. This makes Qiu Xinyuan and his son very angry, but they have no choice. Who makes Qiu Xinyuan not live up to expectations? He only knows how to drink and race cars. Play with women. Li Chuang's family and the Qiu family were family friends. The two children had made a marriage contract early. Both parties were satisfied that they were only children. Who knew that Qiu Yuan would appear halfway? Naturally, Li Chuang and Qiu Xinyuan shared the same hatred and hated Qiu Yuan. Not in a good mood. Li Chuang gasped rapidly, his calmness no longer existed. Who do you think you are? You cannot comment on the Qiu family's affairs. Yun Xiao and Qing Yu's eyes lit up. They love to watch dramas about rich and powerful families. Speaking of which, This is also a scandal in Lancheng's wealthy family. The current head of the Chiu family, Chiu Zelong, was used to being romantic when he was young. He did not know how to restrain himself after getting married. Not long after, he gave birth to an illegitimate son, who was older than Chiu Xingyuan's real son. Big. It has nothing to do with you. Your last name is Yun? Li Chuanyang's mind, which was confused with anger, suddenly became clear for a moment. This surname was not a common surname. Since she said that, it shouldn't be some unknown person with the surname Yun? Who else is named Yun? Li Chuanyang gritted her teeth and stopped. She didn't even care what else she wanted to do. Yun Su chuckled lightly and said, "You might as well guess again, who else in Lancheng has the surname Yun? Your surname is Yun, right? There seems to be only one Yun family in Lancheng. The daughter of the Yun family is named Yun Yan. She is not you. Who are you? It's your turn to talk nonsense here. What are you talking about? How can Xingyuan be inferior to that illegitimate child?" Li Chuanyang turned around and became furious, his eyes red. She glanced at Qingyu again bitterly, counting her luck this time. "Thank you." Yunsu reached out and took it. Yunsu. Li Chuanyang's pupils were shaking, she finally remembered. The most famous person named Yun in Lancheng is not the Yun family, but this person, Yunsu. That talented girl who caused a sensation in the world, Yunsu. How could it be her? How come she is here? What is her relationship with Qingyu? A series of questions rushed into Li Chuanyang's mind, and panic flashed in her eyes. It stands to reason that although Yunsu is well known and has high academic achievements, she has no foundation of her own. Li Chuanyang comes from a wealthy family, so there is no need to fear her, but there are too many people standing behind her, including popular movie stars, famous school principals, and academic masters. And the most important thing is that she is the one who protects her from above. She actually offended her. Li Chuanyang's body trembled when he thought of this, and a late conscious fear surged into his heart. What is your relationship with Qingyu? She struggled to ask the question, praying that the relationship between the two was just a normal relationship, so that there would be room for redemption. Relationship, Yunsu chuckled, without any warmth. My sister, what do you mean by relationship? Qingyu was stunned. This was the first time that Susu said she was her sister. She couldn't help but became excited and smiled on her face. Susu is her sister, which is great. Only now does she have the real sense that the two of them are a family. Sisters. Li Chuanyang's world was spinning. One was named Yun and the other was named Qing. How could they be sisters? Yunsu, keep that Chiu Xing away from my sister, otherwise, I don't mind teaching him how to behave, or let me teach him how to behave myself. Li Chuanyang could clearly hear the danger and threat in her tone, and knew that Yunsu was not talking big words. She could really deal with Chiu Xingyuan. Li Chuanyang lowered his eyes, suppressed the resentment in his heart, gritted his teeth and said, I know, I will tell him. The situation was stronger than the situation, so she just kept her head down. If her family knew that she had offended Yunsu, she would have nothing to gain. Zhang Meng swallowed. Things were out of their control. Miss Yun simply didn't pay much attention to her. She lowered her head and tried to reduce her sense of presence. Now, you two. Yunsu nodded at the two of them. Apologize. What? I've already said it? Li Chuanyang suddenly raised her head and spoke in a sharp voice, asking her to apologize to Qingyu, that vixen? Why? Did I not make it clear enough? Apologize, you'd better not ask me to repeat it a third time. Yunsu's emotionless eyes were like pouring cold water on Li Chuanyang, and she instantly realized the current situation. I apologize. Before she could make a move, Zhang Meng was already hurriedly apologizing to Qingyu and Yun Xiao with a smile on her face, for fear that Yunsu would do something if she was too late. She knows more about current affairs than Li Chuang. Jiang Meng kept bowing, keeping his posture very low. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said those words, I'm sorry. Yunsu's eyes glanced at Li Chuang, who was still stunned. Li Chuang had no choice but to apologize through gritted teeth. I'm sorry. Yun Xiao licked her ears and asked, what did you say? Louder. I'm sorry. I said I'm sorry. Li Chuang broke the jar and yelled. I heard it, why are you so loud? Yun Xiao said angrily to her slowly. Qing Yu ignored her at all. Li Chuang looked at the joking looks from the people around him, his chest rose and fell rapidly, and when he saw that several people didn't speak anymore, he suppressed his anger and strode out. Jiang Meng saw this and hurriedly followed. This is the end of a farce. Next time something like this happens, remember to tell me. If Chiu Xin Yuan harasses you, tell me directly. Yunsu looked at Qing Yu and ordered. Yet Qing Yu felt a little awkward. Susu was obviously her younger sister, but she was the one who was always being taken care of. Susu is so handsome. Why don't they have their heads pressed to apologize for making them so arrogant? Yun Xiao looked at her with starry eyes. Susu is such a boyfriend. What kind of boyfriend power? Yunsu said with a smile. She also bought clothes. Let's go. Please walk slowly. Welcome to visit next time. The store manager personally sent several people to the door, bowing almost at 90 degrees. Store manager, what is her relationship with us? She actually has a card issued by the chairman himself. As soon as she turned around, she met the curious eyes of the shopping guide who was trembling just now. She warned lightly, don't ask what you shouldn't ask. Go back to work. She didn't know what the relationship was, but she knew it wasn't something she should care about. The clothes were bought, but Yunsu always felt that there was still something missing. She looked at her bare wrists and took Qing Yu and Yun Xiao into a top luxury watch store nearby. Hello, welcome. A well-trained shopping guide immediately came to greet you. 10 minutes later, Yunsu had a limited edition women's watch on her wrist. Susu, why don't you use that card anymore? Yun Xiao felt sad for her when she thought about Yunsu just swiping millions without blinking an eye. Doesn't it mean that if you have that kind of card, you don't need to pay anymore? Once is enough. Same, even if Yun Xiao sticks out her tongue, she can't just grab a sheep, let alone there are millions of them. Yunsu didn't just buy things for herself. She took the two of them into the jewelry store again. They tried their best to refuse, but she still bought a necklace for each of them and forcefully asked them to accept it. In the end, after Yunsu bought gifts for everyone in the family, the two reluctantly accepted them. Today, it can be said that I returned home with a full load. End of this chapter. After Rebirth, Boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 212. Chapter 212. Heading to Country E. After returning home, Yunsu distributed the gifts among the family, who seemed to be complaining but were actually secretly happy. Then they chatted in the living room. None of the three mentioned the thing that disappointed them today. After chatting for a while, Yunsu went back to the room. Everyone was tired after a busy day, so they went back to their rooms to rest. When I returned to the room, I found that most of the luggage had been packed. Without asking her, I knew that Aunt Qing helped pack it. What she collected were some daily necessities, and she didn't touch the private things. This appropriate and measured approach made Yunsu very useful. She smiled slightly, and a warm current flashed through her heart. Just after washing up, Qin Jiao called. Huh, Yunsu collapsed on the bed and made a lazily sound in his nose. Did you go shopping today? Yunsu used the card, and Qin Jiao quickly received the news. Well, I bought some more formal clothes and I'm going to Country E tomorrow. Qin Jiao knew that her schedule was to attend the International Congress of Mathematicians. Then there is no need to ask you what kind of clothes you are wearing. I can see it on TV. On the other hand, another Kong Lai, who is older than her, is wearing a decent three-piece suit with a black coat on top. He has a tall and straight posture and walks in a windy manner. "Good night." Qin Jiao's voice was deep, like the sound of bells and drums. It was 6 o'clock in the afternoon local time when we arrived in Petersburg, country E. The climate here can reach below zero, and the breath turns into frost. It is much colder than Lanzhou. Yunsu was shivering as soon as she got off the plane. Although her body cold problem was cured a lot, but she just doesn't like the cold weather. Knowing that there might be a large number of reporters squatting outside, she didn't have any idle baggage, so she put on a military coat neatly to keep warm. This was specially prepared for her by her superiors who knew she was afraid of the cold. Such a large international conference and award ceremony will be reported and broadcast in real time in China. Yeah, Yunsu responded, with no discernible emotion. Junyu Group belongs to you, right? I understand, Yunsu replied softly. She had never doubted Qin Jiao's intentions for her. He had always taken care of her in his own way, whether it was behavior or feelings. It's my fault. I shouldn't have hidden it from you. At first, I thought that not revealing my identity would allow you to do it without any scruples. But later on, you couldn't even find the right opportunity to speak. For example, that card, Bai Yuanzhou, and Sulin's attitudes towards her and their occasionally meaningful looks, and the fact that he never asked Yunchinj what he was doing, but sometimes made a few remarks intentionally or unintentionally. Yunsu suddenly said such a sentence without thinking, with a casual tone, but Qin Jiao was caught off guard. Yunsu's trip to country E to attend a conference is not only her personal matter, but also a major event for the entire Chinese mathematics community and even the scientific community. The invitation list for the International Congress of Mathematicians in China also includes Kang Lai, the Dean of the Academy of Mathematics. The two of them went to country E together. Kang Lai was also an acquaintance of Yunsu. There was no unfamiliar feeling between the two. Before setting off, the superiors gave numerous instructions to pay attention to Yunsu's safety. Whether he won or not won a prize was secondary. His heart tightened and he held his breath for 2 seconds. Countless ways of saying it flashed through his mind, and finally he admitted, it's mine. He didn't want to hide anything from her anymore. She didn't think about it deeply before, but today's card with the logo of Junyu made her sure of it. He didn't mention a word about the award. In his heart, Yunsu was worthy of any honor in the world, so whether she won the award or not would not have any impact on him, and he didn't want to burden her. Yunsu quickly fell asleep. Why am I angry? Yunsu laughed, it's just that many things make sense. That's good. Qin Jiao breathed a long sigh of relief. I have to get up early tomorrow, so go to bed early. Okay, good night. Are you angry? Qin Jiao asked cautiously. Yunsu looked at others with great admiration for the first time. He was in such good health and could withstand the cold. So when the two of them were surrounded by reporters as soon as they walked out of the airport, they almost didn't recognize Yunsu. The Chinese reporter in Petersburg held back a smile and asked her about her itinerary, while the photographer behind her took pictures frantically. First of all, I need to go to a heated place immediately, and then, can I accept the interview? Yunsu's tone was serious. Although the military coat was resistant to freezing, it couldn't bear to stay like this forever. Reporters from all over the world laughed, looking at the little girl's face that was red from the cold, and understandingly gave way. Anyway, they were just interviewing a few words now, and the next thing was the main event. Thank you everyone. Yunsu clasped his hands together with a grateful look on his face. Kang Lai, on the other hand, answered a few questions seriously. After all, he is the representative and spokesperson of this trip to country E. Let's go. Yunsu got into the car, feeling the warm air blowing in front of her face, and relaxed on the back of the chair. Why are you so afraid of the cold? Kang Lai frowned. When I was a child, I was playful and fell into the pond in winter, Yunsu said casually. That's not a small problem. Have you taken any medicine to treat it? I know an old Chinese medicine doctor and I will check it out for you when I return to China. Kang Lai looked concerned. The girl was so young that she couldn't have any problems. No, I took some medicine to treat it. I'm just used to being afraid of the cold. It's okay. That's good, as long as it's nothing. Hearing what she said, Kang Lai was relieved, and then smiled. Do you still have fun? I thought you had been that cold and indifferent person since you were a child. Quiet temper. No, when I was a kid, I wore leather and ran all over the mountains and plains. Thinking of the past, Yunsu also smiled. Her personality has not been peaceful since she was a child, and she often made her father very angry. As she grew up, she restrained herself a lot. Later, when she came to the Yun family, her personality took a 180-degree turn and became introverted and quiet. For no other reason, neither Yuntu nor Suzayuling liked children with out-of-character personalities. Whenever they saw her not complying with the rules, they would teach her with a straight face. Over time, her personality became even more gloomy. During those decades in the Interstellar, she seemed to have unlocked the seal. She wanted to do anything, dared to do anything, traveled to the sky and the sea, roamed the universe, and did everything. After she made outstanding achievements and was reused, there was no one to stop me, and I was helped to do whatever I wanted to do. I was lawless. For several years, I was in a state of madness, and I would do anything that stimulated me. Car racing, horse riding, shooting, etc. were all learned during that time. Later, the interstellar war broke out, and she followed her onto the battlefield. Countless gunpowder smoke, winds, and horses and leather-wrapped corpses. Only her flesh and blood and vitality allowed her to truly calm down. With their thoughts drawn back, they had already arrived at the hotel where they were staying. The door of the hotel was guarded by soldiers with live ammunition to ensure the safety of the participants. The reception staff left after arranging accommodation for them. The meeting starts tomorrow, and they still have time to take a good rest. Here, have something hot to drink. Kang Lai handed her a cup of steaming cocoa. Thank you. Yunsu reached out and took it, and the silky and sweet cocoa slid down her throat to her stomach, warming her whole body. Let's take a rest first and go down for dinner later. The accommodation and meals for the participants will be provided here. Okay. Kang Lai nodded, closed the door and went out. There were people guarding the door vigilantly, but they were not worried about her safety. Yunsu was a little tired after the long flight, so she lay down on the soft and fragrant bed to rest. What she didn't know was that the interview she had with Kang Lai at the airport had been transmitted back to China in real time. The scene captured by the photographer has been trending on Weibo. Dean Kang Lai, who was dressed upright in a suit and ties, and Yunsu, who was wrapped in a military coat and wanted to shrink into a ball, were in sharp contrast, as if they were two worlds apart. What is the difference between elite professors and urban and rural girls? I really know how to laugh, ha 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 ha. The man was silent and the woman was crying. It seemed like the child was really frozen. Dash help. Didn't anyone remind my sister? People all over the country watched this. I am sorry, but my sister's way of squeezing her neck with her hands is exactly the same as mine. The military coats are the same style. My sister is wearing a military coat, and I am wearing a military coat. Rounding it all off, I am the one standing there. Wake up upstairs. My sister can tell that she is as beautiful as a flower even when she is wearing a military coat. How about you? Thank you, I was offended. If you have a link to the same style, please send it to me. I want to get today's most fashionable outfit. It will be funnier if you click on the video. Ha ha ha. A reporter asked her about her itinerary, and she said she first needed to find a place with heating. Ha 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 ha, I laughed to death. Answer the question seriously. My sister is a funny woman. I want to say, have you ever seen any funny woman who can attend the International Conference of Mathematicians? In addition, she is still a funny woman who might even win the Fields Medal. Speaking of which, can my sister get a prize this time? I read that the experts said that the possibility of winning the prize is very low. Relax, no matter whether I can get the award or not, my sister's achievements are unprecedented. Yes, don't burden your sister. It doesn't matter if you don't get it. She is only 17 years old. Anyway, we fans support my sister unconditionally. If someone dares to push me if I don't win the award, let me see if I don't tear his mouth apart. Zunan's max level players apply to compete. In terms of landing, I have never lost. I also. No one can make irresponsible remarks about my sister. Whoever is so strong-willed and dares to blackmail her may want to cut off the internet. Countless netizens were shocked when they saw this unprecedentedly harmonious comment section, and the entertainment industry marketing accounts were even more astonished. After so many years of surfing the internet, this is the first time I have seen such fierce fans, as well as Yoonsu's huge passerby fans group. It can be said that no one dares to criticize her online now. Being chased and scolded for 3 days and 3 nights is a trivial matter. What is even more frightening is that a mysterious force will directly ban those accounts. Stars in the entertainment industry are even more envious when they see Yoonsu's popularity, but there is nothing they can do about it. It is not a comparison of one field and one dimension at all, so there is nothing they can do about envy. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After Rebirth, Boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 213. Chapter 213 Pre-meeting dinner. It was already dark when Yoonsu woke up. After sleeping for a while, her body had recovered most of its blood. She washed her face energetically. Someone was knocking on the door softly, calling her. Come in. Ms. Yoon, here are the clothes for the dinner prepared for you. The attendant handed over a black dress. Dinner, Yoonsu was confused. Yes, tonight is the pre-meeting dinner hosted by the conference organizing committee. Dean Kong is already waiting for you. Okay, I'll be quick. Yoonsu didn't receive any notice of the dinner in advance and thought it was just a simple meal. She quickly changed her clothes, arranged her hair, pulled it into a bud, and tucked the broken hair behind her ears. She was young, rosy-cheeked, and naturally beautiful. She looked pretty and charming without any makeup. The dress skirt is simple in style and can't go wrong. Yoonsu looked at the empty neck, thought for a while, and took out a box from the suitcase. A thin silver chain hangs around his neck, with a drop-shaped pendant hanging on it, making the whole person look even more generous and decent. Okay, let's go. Most of the people present had met Yoonsu at the seminar before, and there were a small number of people who had never seen her before. They were amazed by her beauty and even more shocked by her youth. Very beautiful. Kong Lai praised the little girl and bent his arms. Don't be so serious, Sue. This is not a formal banquet. I just want everyone to relax before the meeting. You can do whatever you want, as long as you don't do anything troublesome. Viana shrugged and winked mischievously. Yoonsu smiled, walked forward, put his hand into his arm, and held it weakly. The acquaintance is André, the Dean of the School of Mathematics at the University of London, whom Yoonsu met when he participated in IMO. Welcome, dear, and the beautiful girl, Sue. Mr. Viana spoke pure English, low and mellow. Mr. Viana, chairman of the organizing committee of the conference, his eyes lit up and he immediately came to greet him. She found a seat, minding her own business, and started eating. She was indeed hungry, her mouth was stuffed, and she looked like a little hamster eating secretly. The girl's cuteness was fully exposed, and her eyes were full of only the food in front of her looked nothing like the talented girl who was so calm and composed in the cameras from various countries. Viana said a few words and went to greet the next guest. "Who's laughing?" Yoon Soo-sun's Hung looked around and saw the blonde man with blue eyes looking at her with a smile. She raised her eyebrows and saw that he was an acquaintance. "Dean Andre, long time no see." In the hall, the guests from all over the world looked at Yoon-soo intentionally or unintentionally, hesitating whether to come forward to talk, but took no action. It was nightfall, and snow started to fall outside. Fortunately, the indoor heater was sufficient, and it was as warm as spring. Yoon-soo did not feel cold, and the two of them walked into the dinner party. Kang Lai was familiar with Viana and had met him at various international mathematics conferences before. He nodded slightly in greeting. Yoon-soo walked out, and Kang Lai was waiting in the front hall. He took off his outer coat and put on a new plaid tie. Although he was getting older, his whole person looked more gentle and elegant, with the charm of time. Okay, Yoon-soo also blinked. The originally lively dinner scene suddenly fell silent. Looking at the old man and the young man walking in, a flash of surprise flashed in his eyes. Yoon-soo laughed. He didn't expect the serious professor he saw on the news to be so lively in private. Kang Lai went to say hello to the professor he met. Yoon-soo had nothing to do, so she walked directly to the side and took the dinner plate, various snacks and drinks. She looked at the champagne on the side and smacked her lips. She did not dare to touch the wine again. "Okay, where are the terrible lessons?" "Hello, Mr. Viana." Yoon-soo pulled the hem of her skirt and leaned forward slightly. One person was holding champagne and looked at it for a long time, and couldn't help laughing. Andre walked to sit next to her and said in a casual tone, "Why are you sitting here alone? Why don't you go and talk to everyone?" "I don't know what to talk about." "They don't have anything to talk to me about," Yoon-soo said in a casual tone. She said almost everything she needed to say about the last seminar. Andre's green eyes widened slightly, full of surprise. "Are you kidding me? How could it be possible that he had nothing to talk about with her? At this dinner, I wonder how many people came for her? Don't she know that she is the focus and core of this dinner?" Yoon-soo stuffed another snack into her mouth. It was sweet but not greasy, and her eyes were full of satisfaction. Andre looked at the snacks on her plate that had been mostly wiped out, and wondered, "Is it so delicious? Isn't this just an ordinary snack?" Yoon-soo pushed the plate towards him and said, "Try it." Andre was not polite. He picked up a small snack and put it into his mouth. It didn't taste as amazing as expected, but looking at the girl's satisfied look, the snack in his mouth seemed to be really delicious. "Not bad," Andre nodded. Yoon-soo gave him a look of "I just said it's okay," and Andre once again couldn't control the smile in his eyes. He originally had many questions that he wanted to ask her and discuss with her, but somehow, if he spoke, the relaxed atmosphere would be ruined, so he had better keep quiet. The two of them just sat quietly, eating snacks and occasionally clinking glasses of champagne drinks. The atmosphere was extremely harmonious. "Go, Simon." Konrad Adenauer encouraged him, looking at the hesitant expression on his young disciple's face. Simon pursed his lips and looked at the girl eating in the corner, feeling hesitant in his heart. He really wanted to go over and talk to her, but he didn't know how to speak, so he was in a dilemma. "Simon, you must learn to face your heart, no matter how timid you are. If you don't do this, you will always be imprisoned," Adenauer said earnestly. After the last seminar, Simon's situation seemed to be much better, but he knew that he had not completely given up. Adenauer knew that the best way was for the two of them to have a good chat. But even though he asked someone to do everything possible to get Yoon-soo's contact information, Simon never called that number. There were more and more times when he was in a daze and silence. Adenauer saw it and was anxious in his heart, so he also tried to find a way to let Simon come as his assistant at this mathematician conference, Just to meet Yunsu. Simon is still hesitating. Go quickly, Adenauer pushed him. Simon hesitated and finally took a step. Yunsu, hello. A slightly trembling voice came, and Yunsu raised her head in confusion. Apart from people from China, there were actually people calling her by her full name. Although the pronunciation is a bit awkward, it is indeed called Yunsu. A tall and slender black-haired boy stood in front of her. His skin was so white that it was almost transparent, and his lips were bright red. He looked like a beautiful vampire boy in a medieval castle. He was a little nervous, and the cup he was holding was shaking. Simon, Yunsu recognized the person. Do you remember me? Simon's eyes widened. Apparently he didn't expect that Yunsu would remember him and call him by his name. His eyes flashed with excitement. Seeing that someone familiar to Yunsu was coming, Andre walked away wisely. Why don't you remember? Today should be the third time we meet, right? Yunsu asked. Her memory is not that bad. Simon's nervous mood instantly relaxed a lot, and he walked over to her and sat down. Yunsu asked casually, are you here with your teacher? Your teacher is really nice to you. I take him with me wherever I go. Teacher is really good to me. Simon also said that he knew that his state was not right for a long time, and the most anxious person was probably the teacher. He had been trying to persuade him and wanted to help him open up his heart. He was also very grateful to the teacher. Yunsu looked at him. He was really a well-protected child. She couldn't help but think of her teacher. This teacher didn't refer to Lao Li or any other teacher, but the teacher who had been leading her forward in the interstellar era. She has always been lucky that she recognized Academician Moto of the Imperial Academy of Sciences as her teacher as early as when she was in college. The teacher taught her carefully without any reservations. He also paved the way for her and recommended her to any place where she could shine. Otherwise, no matter how amazing her talent was and how hard she worked, she would not have been able to attract the attention of the Empire in such a short period of time and support her in making so many scientific research results. The teacher knew that she had always had emotional and psychological problems, but he still tolerated her with a broad mind and allowed her to live and work actively and do whatever she wanted to do. It's a pity that in the end, she still embarked on the road of no return. I wonder if the teacher who has returned to his hometown will jump up when he hears the news. She couldn't help but shudder when she thought of the teacher's calm face. After so many years, she still had lingering fears about some of the teacher's methods. What's wrong with you? Simon noticed something was wrong with her. It's okay, I thought of my teacher. Yunsu suddenly felt that the snacks in his hand no longer tasted good. Do you also have a teacher? Simon's eyes widened. Of course, he was referring to a formal teacher who taught by words and deeds. Of course, but, he is no longer here. Yunsu's tone was light, with an inexplicable meaning. I'm sorry. Simon was stunned, then quickly apologized after realizing it. Fine. Not only is the teacher gone, but also himself is gone. Yunsu laughed at himself. She was ashamed of her teacher after all. Do you ever feel frustrated and powerless? Simon hesitated for a long time and finally asked the question in his heart. Of course there are many, Yunsu said without thinking. A lot. Simon was stunned. How could it be? For example, when my dad is good at cooking and I only know how to fry the kitchen, like when my friend threw me a birthday party with weird aesthetics, or when I got drunk and went crazy and wanted to delete my memory the next day, and now, when I obviously want to go back and lie down but still want to stay here. Yunsu said a lot. End of this chapter. After Rebirth, boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 214. Chapter 214, Untying the Heart Knot. No, I'm not talking about these things. Simon shook his head. I'm talking about study and research. Those things you mentioned are just small things. Little things, Yunsu chuckled, These are as important to me as study and scientific research. Simon was stunned and murmured, how can it be the same? Why is it different? Because those are all part of my life, there is no more importance. Yunsu said seriously, it's all the same. The frustration and powerlessness you mentioned don't just refer to one thing. Just like your life is not just about studying and doing scientific research, there are also many other fresh and beautiful things. She looked at Simon, who was still in a daze, and said calmly, do you know what I was thinking when I saw you for the first time? What? Simon asked reflexively. I thought at the time, this kid was really good looking. What's pretty? Being caught off guard by the compliment, Simon's face turned red, and the tips of his ears were so red that they started to bleed. It looks like this, as beautiful as a rose, with sharp thorns, confident and proud, but now. Yunsu glanced at him, I didn't see it, you are no longer there. Sorry. Adenauer smiled apologetically at the other party. Simon turned back and looked at Yunsu, who was still sitting in the corner. I won't let you worry about me anymore. Simon bent down and bowed respectfully, with an inaudible choke in his voice. All the blood in Simon's face faded, the raised corners of his mouth froze, his whole body trembled uncontrollably, and his eyes were filled with confusion and panic. The knot that had been accumulated in his heart for a long time was suddenly opened, and his whole person suddenly became enlightened. The gloom in his heart was swept away, and he became dazzling again, as if he was reborn. Reporters were not allowed to enter the dinner venue, so they could only squat at the door and take photos. As expected, the photos of Yunsu and Kang Lai entering the venue were sent back to China. Although it was relatively late, there were still many night owl netizens online. Serve. Adenauer looked at the new disciple and realized that he had untied the knot in his heart and was relieved. He couldn't help but get wet in his eyes. It's good to understand, it's good to understand. His life shouldn't be all about this. Yunsu, who was drinking heavily just a second ago, immediately put on a business smile on his face and started chatting happily with everyone. Simon looked into the girl's clear eyes, and his mind went blank. Only her words echoed in his mind, knocking at the door of his heart over and over again. What kind of devil is that upstairs? Ha 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 ha, I was laughing so hard. Yunsu sat there for a while, and the other guests saw that they had communicated with her one after another, and finally came forward to talk to Yunsu. Yes, he shouldn't just look at her. There are countless mountains in this world that can't be climbed all the way. He can only look at his feet. Welcome to The Sparrow Turns into a Phoenix, The Little Princess, the story of a country girl entering the city, on the importance of clothing, the transformation of the coat of the dinner party. Simon walked away quickly. He was going to find the teacher and tell him that he really understood and that he didn't need to worry about him anymore. The sun is dazzling. You don't have to be the sun, you might as well be the unique moon. Sorry, although my sister's outfit looks very good, I only have military coats in my heart. You have not experienced everything I have, and I have not experienced everything you have. You look at me and think I am very powerful, but when I look at the people present, there are many who are more powerful than me, but so what? Okay. What's wrong? I'm so frizzy. Hey, let me tell you, Yunsu put a hand on his shoulder, you are the talented young man who made me famous. Who can show you this? It's not a big deal. Kang Yuan is still as handsome as ever. How can I dare to be called a genius in front of you? Who dares to be called a genius? Simon smiled bitterly, his voice inaudible. Teacher Simon found Adenauer, who was chatting with someone. Good guy, there are still two faces. I understand. I finally understand. Simon grabbed her shoulders and shook her twice. Thank you, Yunsu, I understand. I'll excuse you now. Sister, let me perform a speedy cross-dressing for everyone. He is not like the genius disciple of Professor Adenauer in the rumors. I said that I never thought that my talent was very high. I said that I was just a little achievement based on the predecessors. They were the pioneers, and you and I were the ones who followed their footsteps, but who say, you and I can't be the next trailblazers? Just like tomorrow, do you believe that it doesn't matter to me whether I win or not? No, I don't believe it. This is definitely not the same person. No, I only look at myself. He was really afraid that this amazingly talented disciple would fail. Kang Lai kept looking at her nonchalantly from the side, and laughed secretly when he saw this scene. The two photos posted on Weibo at the same time made countless people laugh like crazy. What a child! Yunsu rubbed his aching shoulders and suddenly laughed softly, but it's not in vain that I said so much. I understand. Simon's chest rose and fell violently, obviously his mood fluctuated greatly. Yunsu frowned. His appearance could not be related to her, right? Listen, Yunsu turned him over and forced him to look into her eyes. Do you remember what I said in the last seminar? She was a little thirsty and took a sip of the drink. The other person nods to say it's okay, and then walks away. As soon as he appeared, Yunsu noticed that he was different from before. His aura was sluggish. It was completely different from the pride and confidence he had before. It was like a rose that had its thorns pulled out and was about to wither, although it was still beautiful. But the energy is gone. There was a lot of ha 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 on the internet, and of course some people were concerned about business. When will the awards be given? The meeting starts at 9 o'clock local time in Petersburg, which is 2 o'clock in our afternoon, a time difference of 5 hours. Thanks, I'll stay there tomorrow. Hurry up and make a note of it, lest you forget it. I feel like I'm more excited than my sister. It's over, I can't sleep. I also. This night, I don't know how many people have lost sleep because of tomorrow's awards ceremony. But the person involved slept soundly. He almost went to his room and went to bed and fell asleep, and even snored happily. Yunsu woke up early the next morning feeling refreshed. The meeting started at 9 o'clock. It was still early, so she went downstairs to have breakfast. Yunsu, here it's that awkward pronunciation again. Sure enough, when Yunsu turned around, she saw Simon waving to her excitedly. Next to him was his teacher, and the two of them were having breakfast. Yunsu changed direction and walked to sit next to Simon. Hello, Professor Adenauer, I am Yunsu. Yunsu greeted politely. Hello, Adenauer replied enthusiastically, his interest in her undisguised in his eyes. The disciple he had been persuading for so long was persuaded by her in just a few words. How could he not be curious? It's a pity that no matter how he asked, Simon refused to tell him. What on earth did Su say to him? Simon, did you sleep well last night? It's pretty good. Yunsu didn't have the habit of recognizing beds and slept soundly wherever she went. That's good. Simon stood up and walked to the dining table. Upon seeing this, Adenauer immediately asked, what on earth did you say to Simon last night? It made him change so much. Yunsu chewed the ham and said hesitantly, I said he doesn't look as good as before. Does that count? Ha 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 ha, Adenauer laughed loudly. He knew that the two of them must not be talking about more than this. That's all, as long as Simon recovers, the rest is not important, just let it be the secret between the two of them. What are you talking about? Seeing his teacher so happy, Simon asked suspiciously. Nothing. All right. Simon held out a dinner plate, here you go. Yunsu looked at the smiling face omelette on the plate and pointed at herself, me. Yes, Simon smiled, his soft black hair swaying, and said softly, I wish you good luck today. Yunsu was startled for a moment, then understood what he was referring to, and a sincere smile appeared on his face, thank you. Simon seemed to blush again, lowering his head to eat his breakfast. Adenauer squinted at his disciple and showed an intriguing smile. The conference was held not far from the hotel, in the Petersburg City Conference Hall next to it. The organizers' special car took everyone there, and the drive only took a few minutes. The meeting was held with a total of nearly 200 people, and the seats were divided according to nationality. Machines have already been set up around the conference hall, ready for live broadcast. Huiguo has purchased the broadcasting rights. In the past, only a few people attended such professional academic conferences and award ceremonies, but this year, because of the presence of Yunsu, countless people are eagerly waiting for it. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it is the time for work and school, and many netizens who eat melons are watching it quietly. Many universities even broadcast it directly to students in the cafeteria or assembly hall. With a wave of his hand, the principal of No. 1 Middle School immediately suspended classes and everyone watched the live broadcast. These are the students of their school. At this time, they must be with her. Under the spotlight, Yunsu finally appeared on the screen. Ah! My sister, this outfit looks great. The aura is directly filled up. My sister is 1.8 meters tall. Hundreds of thousands of clothes, how can they not look good? Someone recognized the brand of the clothes and said immediately. This dress is not something that ordinary people can hold up. My sister is so cute and I love her so much. Of course, Kang Yuan is also very handsome. Looking at this scene, my sister is really a breath of fresh air inside. That's not the case, almost all of them are gray-haired and elderly professors, and my sister is like a young seedling among them. Wrong, in the lower left corner, there is a beautiful boy, so handsome. Huh? Why does it look familiar? I know, he also appeared at the last seminar. Old fan, let's do some popular science. This brother and his sister know each other. The two competed together. I have a dangerous idea. I also. Just give it a try, dual learning God CP, I love it. Speechless, anyone can knock anyone out in any situation. Qin Xiao, who had just started the live broadcast, turned dark when he saw this. End of this chapter. After Rebirth, boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 215. Chapter 215 Awards Ceremony. He typed bitterly and sent barrages. My sister is still young, so don't knock her. He also learned the tone of voice in the rice circle. If Yun Suze was determined to laugh, he would burst into laughter. Yes, my sister is not yet a minor. Men will only block the progress of my sister. Qin Jiao was just a little satisfied when he looked at the previous one, but his face froze again. In No. 1 Middle School, the multimedia in each classroom displays live broadcasts. The teacher glanced around the classroom and said, read it carefully and write an 800-word review after reading it. Huh, the student wailed, why should I write this? Ah what, look carefully. There was thunderous applause. Qin Jiao has turned off the barrage and is clean. That's not it, why is the camera always scanning back and forth, can't it be directed at Susu? Cao Liun said dissatisfied. At this moment, Yunsu's family was also sitting around in front of the TV watching the live broadcast. With a story-like feel, he narrated his experience of participating in many conferences of mathematicians, as well as the most unforgettable day in his life, the day he won the Fields Medal. He hoped that the participants from all over the world who came here could harmonious communication and common communication. Although I didn't understand what he was talking about at all, I felt the power of mathematics inexplicably. He got it, me. Qin Cheng. His uncle should be watching the live broadcast, right? I don't know how I feel. The whole audience listened quietly to Viana speaking slowly. He talked about the development of the mathematics community and some important mathematical results in recent years. The next step was the speech by the president of the International Mathematical Union, who was also the winner of a certain Fields Medal. Coming, Qing Yu said excitedly. Brother Chang, look, some people say that Sister Yoon and that little foreigner are a good match. Our Susu looks really good on camera. Yoon Daejin looked proud. Mathematical scum can't feel it. Ice now, call me after the awards are given. Off the stage, Lian Yu was playing live broadcast on his mobile phone, and he was overjoyed watching the barrage. I want you to say it, Cao Liun said angrily. Why haven't you started yet? It's not just Susu, there are so many people. Yoon Xiao rolled her eyes. Her mother didn't know how awesome those people were and just wanted to see Susu's picture. I hope you can enjoy the happiness brought by mathematics during your time here. Thank you all. President Viana finished his speech. In the huge conference hall, Viana walked up to the stage and delivered a speech. Gentlemen and ladies, welcome to the International Congress of Mathematicians. I am Marcelo Viana, chairman of the organizing committee of the conference. I am honored to stand in this position. Let me meet you all. In the past 4 years of preparation, we have spent a lot of time and efforts to popularize mathematics and expand the influence of mathematics. As soon as she finished speaking, she saw someone walking onto the stage. At the end, there was another thunderous applause. Applause. Applaud. Pay papa. Very supportive. Who would have thought that I would be the atmosphere team in an international conference live broadcast room? Tell me I'm sleepy, really. Waiting online, how do I write my review of this? I can't even understand it. Don't be sleepy. The awards are coming soon. Really? Sit back and wait. When it comes to awarding awards, the number of barrages increases sharply. Let's move on to the third item of the conference, which is to award the 4 major awards of the International Mathematical Union. Viana announced on the stage. Here it comes, the awards are given. Yunsu and his family were all drowsy after watching it, but they immediately woke up when they heard the awards. The 4 major awards of the International Mathematical Union refer to the Fields Medal, the Chern Medal, the Gauss Medal, and the Navarina Medal. The first award was the Chen Shengshen Award. This International Congress of Mathematicians will award the Chern Prize to Fuzu mathematician Masaka Kashiwara in recognition of his outstanding and fundamental contributions to algebraic analysis and representation theory in the past 50 years. The next one is the Gauss Prize. This International Congress of Mathematicians will award the Gauss Prize to David Donoghue, a mathematician from China, in recognition of his contribution to multiscale geometric analysis. Then there is the Navarina Prize. This International Congress of Mathematicians awards the Navarina Prize to Konstantinos Daskalakis for transforming the understanding of computational complexity in fundamental problems in markets, auctions, equilibrium and other economic structures. He provides efficient algorithms. 3 awards were awarded in a row. To be honest, I didn't understand a word of the award speech. Stop talking, I am a math student who is confused. I am stupid. The Fields Medal is coming soon, everyone, hold on. The last award is of course the much anticipated Fields Medal, because the competition this year is fierce. Everyone sits upright. Everyone watching the live broadcast cheered up and held their breath. Are you nervous? Kang Lai asked. Fortunately, I'm lucky to get it, but not my life. Yunsu smiled lightly. Your mentality is really good, Kang Lai admired in his heart. The Fields Medal was announced personally by the president of the International Mathematical Union. He walked up to the stage, looked at the expectant crowd, and said with a smile, I know everyone has been waiting for a long time, so I will announce it directly. The nominees who are expected to win the Fields Medal all look nervous. In the camera, Yunsu is smiling without any fluctuation. This International Congress of Mathematicians awarded the Fields Medal to the mathematician Peter Scholz of country D, in recognition of his transformation of arithmetic algebraic geometry into P-advanced fields by introducing perfect spaces. The whole audience was quiet, and the stage was still talking about the contribution of the winner. he was the mathematician who was about to turn 40 and become a high-ranking official as mentioned before. Sure enough, he won the award. What does it mean? Didn't my sister win the prize? Wait a minute, there is more than one Fields Medal winner. Stay steady, there is still hope. Mr. Chairman finished reading about the honors and contributions of mathematicians from country D, paused, and continued. The second winner of the Fields Medal is the mathematician from the country D, Kaushal Bilkar, in recognition of his proof of Fano-algebraic varieties. The boundedness of. It's over, I'm not my sister yet. I am going to cry. Woo woo woo. Alas, although it is sad, it is also the result that everyone expected. It's not over yet. What if there is more? I don't know whether the camera glanced at Yoonsu's face intentionally or unintentionally. When the two winners were announced, her expression remained calm, with no trace of disappointment. Yoon Daejin frowned. Is there no Susu? Yoon Xiao said in a sad tone, not yet. If you don't have one now, the possibility of winning is very slim. If you don't have it, you don't have it. How old is Susu? Look at how old these people are. Cao Liun eased the atmosphere. Wait a minute, Ching Yu suddenly said, it seems that I haven't finished reading yet. What? Everyone cheered up again. Many people in the live broadcast room have left the room because they don't want to watch anymore, and countless media reporters are also preparing to send out the press releases they have written before. At this moment, Mr. Chairman looked at the award card in his hand and continued to read, the last winner of this year's Fields Medal is. He looked at the people in the audience who were almost suffocating and read the result clearly. Yoonsu from China, in recognition of her contribution to proving the world-class mathematical conjecture Riemann hypothesis, let us congratulate them. The camera is divided into 3 frames, focusing on the 3 winners. 2 of them looked excited, and one just raised his eyebrows, slightly surprised. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After Rebirth, Boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 216. Chapter 216. Why not give it a try? As soon as the word China came out, everyone at the scene, in the live broadcast room, and in front of the TV went crazy. It's boiling. Yoonsu, this 17-year-old genius girl from China, actually won the Fields Medal. At this moment, both those who liked her and those who hated her were ecstatic, screaming and cheering. Because this honor not only belongs to her, but also to China. She broke the record as the youngest recipient of the Fields Medal. In number 1 middle school, all the teachers and students in the school were shouting, jumping and screaming. All the calmness disappeared. Lao Li looked excited and had mixed feelings in his heart when he saw the screen. She really did it and got her own honor. Director Li and the principal hugged each other and cried, what about the enrollment rate in the second half of the year? They have seen a steady stream of top students enter number 1 middle school. Because of one person, their school has become famous in the world. In the Yoon family, the 2 brothers Yoon Daejin and Yoon Daegyo were so excited that they could only say the word okay. Ching Yu and Yoon Xiao hugged each other and screamed like crazy. The family can't wait to go out for a run now. This is their child. Look, how outstanding he is. In Beijing, Qin Jiao's inner pride had nowhere to rest. He reached out and touched the screen, it's great. Media that were about to send out a press release hurriedly stopped and replaced it with another version that had been prepared. The news quickly spread back to the country, TV news rushed to insert the news, and Weibo's hot search exploded. I am going crazy. I'm going crazy. I'm going crazy. I can't calm down. I went downstairs and ran laps. Mother. I have a crush on a Fields Medal winner. I'm on my way. Finally, it was her turn. Director Gu probably didn't expect that he would invite a Fields Medal winner to star in a TV show. Gokong Lai said softly. Go and receive the honor that belongs to you. The three winners stood on the stage, and Mr. Chairman presented them with awards. The prizes were a cash prize and a gold medal. The medal had the portrait of the mathematician Fields printed on it. The three men raised the medals to signal, and the scene froze. Maybe my sister is so awesome that I can't justify not giving this award to her. They came in order of receiving the awards, and Yunsu came last. She listened quietly to the acceptance speeches of the two seniors. They contained the excitement of winning the award, as well as the hard work over the years. The most important thing was that they had the right to win the award. Persistence and love for mathematics. Here we go. I'm ready to record the screen. Our dean is going crazy and crying with snot and tears. At this moment, Yunsu, who had won the world's top honor, just smiled brightly at the camera, stood up calmly when the chairman invited him to the stage, and even thought about smoothing the wrinkles on his clothes. I must say it again, Yunsu is awesome. She keeps working miracles. You can always trust Yunsu. I am about to faint, my idol can actually stand there. There may not be anyone bigger than my sister who has acted in TV series. Who would have thought that I fell in love with my sister because of a TV series? Now even if I am asked to write 8,000 words of reflections, I am willing to do so. Who can understand the excitement of a math dog now? Woohoo! The chairman stepped down and handed the podium to them, and the three of them began to deliver their acceptance speeches. Who was it at the beginning? Who said my sister couldn't win the award? Stand up and get beaten. I still can't believe it, my sister actually won the award. She straightened her back, looked forward, and took steps. I was jumping up and down just now, and my mother thought I was crazy. After I told her, she went crazy too. The two mathematicians walked aside thoughtfully and handed the venue to her. The eyes of the whole audience and even the world were focused on her. Yunsu smiled gratefully at the two of them. She walked up to Li Mai and spoke in fluent English. Hello everyone, I am Yunsu. I am very happy and honored to be in this position today. Everyone present, almost all of them are my seniors and teachers. I respect you all very much, but please forgive me today. I want to give my acceptance speech in Chinese. Thank you all. Everyone in the audience smiled kindly and nodded. Speaking in Chinese, I'm crazy. I'm mad. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Sister, that's great too. Using Chinese at this time is really embarrassing. The English scumbag finally doesn't have to listen to the translation. Yunsu bowed to express his gratitude, then switched to Chinese, and the large screen behind him was ready for real-time translation. To be honest, I didn't think I could win this award today, so I didn't prepare an acceptance speech. I just said it casually, and everyone listened casually. Someone laughed out loud. First of all, I would like to thank my family and friends, as well as my fans, for always supporting me and encouraging me. Myself, my sister is thanking me. Wow, my sister didn't forget us. Sister Yoon is awesome. I want to shout my throat out. This one belongs to Lian Yufa. Sister, we will always support you. Yunsu continued, standing here is due to a wonderful misunderstanding. I would like to thank Professor Su Hung. If he had not given the wrong test questions, I might not be standing here. Thank you also. My teacher, Teacher Li Qifang, without him, I might not have even participated in the first mathematics competition. At that time, I didn't have much interest in mathematics, scientific research, etc., and I was pushed to participate in competitions and publish papers. Go. Everyone was stunned. Why? Does she have such a good talent? I actually didn't like these at all in the beginning. Before the live broadcast, Su-hung said cheerfully, "Did you see it?" "Thanks to me." "Thanks to you, don't flatter yourself." Lao Li's eyes were moist and he was still mumbling, "What's your full name? Others wouldn't think he was a female teacher, right?" "I know many people want to ask why. For some reasons, that was the time in my life when I was most confused and didn't know what to do. I didn't care about many things in the world. Later, I slowly learned from it. I have experienced the fun, and more importantly, I have found the path I should take. I no longer hesitate and no longer need anyone to push me. There are more and more people and things in the world that I care about. Now, I can say with certainty that I like mathematics and I love mathematics. I hope that everyone can find the path under their feet in confusion and the direction of progress in frustration. Every second now is the youngest time in your life. As long as you are willing to start, it is never too late. Life is short, why not give it a try?" After Yunsu said the last words, the scene was silent for 3 seconds, and the applause continued for a full minute, and the huge conference hall was filled with people. The screen in the live broadcast room was blank for a few seconds, and then countless barrages appeared overwhelmingly. They were so dense that the eyes could not keep up with the speed of sending. The programmers in the background worked hard to prevent the live broadcast room from crashing. This is the most courageous acceptance speech I have ever heard. Perhaps because it was she who spoke, she always seemed to have a convincing power. Life is short, why not give it a try? That's so good. Even Susu is confused, and we should not be afraid. No matter what the future holds, I will rush for it. When I was 10 years old, I wanted to learn piano. My mother said that people start learning piano from an early age, but I didn't. When I was 18, the girl I liked went to a university in the south. There were thousands of years between us, kilometers. My friends said that my confession would be fruitless, so I didn't go. At the age of 27, I was tired of living a boring life day after day and wanted to quit my current job. Others said that you are not too young now, which is not good. I didn't quit when I was looking for a job again. I thought I made the right decision. But if I hadn't hesitated or chosen to give up, then I would probably be able to play the piano very well and be with the girl I like. Do the work you like, instead of like now, as if you have nothing to lose, but in fact you have nothing to gain. I cried when I saw what was said above, but this is the normal state of life for most people, and they missed it in their hesitation. But my sister said, it is never too late to make a decision at this second. You can also sign up for a piano class now. If the girl you like is still single, contact her immediately. You can also quit the job that tortures you and do things you like. Thank you everyone, we are already on our way. I wanted to take the postgraduate entrance examination before, but my family asked me to find a job, so I gave up. But now, I want to say, I just want to take the postgraduate entrance examination. I have always wanted to go on a trip to 318. I wanted to see the Mali Snow Mountain and the Rizao Golden Summit, but I got stuck by various things. Now, I have taken my annual leave and am packing my things. I want to study science, but people around me tell me that it is better for girls to study liberal arts so that they can find a job. I hesitate, but now, I want to say that I want to study science. I can study it well. Oh my gosh, everyone has so many stories, so it's great that we decided to do it. My tears are not worth anything. My sister really encouraged a lot of people. She is so good, she swears here, and everyone will witness it, she will never take off her powder. I also. On the hot search on Weibo, a long list of entries all about Yunsu almost dominates the screen. Yunsu wins Fields Medal. Youngest Fields Medal winner. Yunsu's acceptance speech. Life is short, why not give it a try? On the stage, Yunsu bowed deeply to express his gratitude. In the corner, Professor Adenauer looked at the tearful student and said, I finally know what she said to you. This girl does have a kind of magic. Simon seemed not to have heard the teacher's words. His eyes did not leave Yunsu, and his tone was vague, "She is really suitable to stand there. From the IMO podium to the field's medal podium, she has always stood at the highest place. That place suits her and belongs to her. The era that belongs to Yunsu is here." End of this chapter. After Rebirth, Boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 217. Chapter 217, Climb over the wall and enter the school. After the award ceremony is completed, it is time for the invited mathematicians to give academic reports. The content of Yunsu's report is naturally the proof of the Riemann hypothesis, which is one of the focuses of everyone's attention. Although Yunsu had already made a detailed report at the seminar at that time, no one would refuse to listen to it again and again. There is one harvest. The academic report by nearly 200 people lasted for almost 2 days, with all kinds of fantastic ideas colliding together. Yunsu had to admit that even if the current scientific level is far from that of the stars, there are still many merits. She gained a lot from this trip to country E. When I returned to China, because of the huge popularity of Yunsu in China, reporters from all walks of life were squatting at the airport every day, trying to get first-hand news about Yunsu. Kang Lai specially applied for a flight route from above. He returned to the capital, while Yunsu arrived directly in Lanchinge on a special plane. She was wearing a mask and the hood of her coat was covered tightly, but she was still recognized by her father the first time she appeared at the door of the house. "Susu," Yoon Daejin said in surprise. "Dad, can you recognize me when I look like this?" Yunsu raised his hat. "You are right. You are my daughter. How can I not recognize you? Your aunt went shopping with your aunt and the others your uncle and I don't like going to those places. I thought you would be back today, so we were cooking at home." "That's good." Yunsu relaxed. Yunsu heard her aunt's loud voice and stood up. "Auntie, Aunt Ching, little." He put it on and put it back in the box. "I have to do things every day, so it's inconvenient to wear it." He would be very distressed if it bumped into him. Qing Lian and Cao Liun didn't know the price, but they also knew it wouldn't be cheap. Yunsu put down her luggage and asked her dad, "Dad, the store will not be open in the next few days. It will be opened after the heat has passed." "Can I'll take a look too?" Even if someone from above is watching, she is afraid that someone will take advantage of the situation and disturb her, but not her family. Yunsu asked in confusion, "Dad, why are you and the uncle alone?" Susu, you are great, come on, show me the medal. Then eat more today, I'll celebrate you." Yoon Daegyo narrowed his eyes with a smile. "It didn't cost much. Besides, I got the bonus, so we all have to share it together." Yunsu smiled, "Let's take it apart and take a look." "Dad, I bought you and uncle a watch each. You can try them on." Yunsu bought the watches from a century-old watch shop that she found before returning to China. They were handmade and elegant in style. Yoon Daejin looked serious. "I'm going to buy a photo frame it, and hang it in the most conspicuous place in the living room so that anyone can see it." "Good. Walk faster," Daegyo said. "Susu is back." There was movement outside. Qing Yu, who was half a step behind, curled her lips and said, "It's like no one is there." Susu is also her sister now. Yoon Xiao carefully touched the portrait on the medal, her eyes wild. "My dear, I can actually touch this medal in my lifetime. I will die without regrets, woo woo woo. Here." "Okay." Yoon Xiao got off her body and looked at it eagerly. Yoon Daejin put it on immediately, waved his hand and couldn't put it down. "It looks good. My daughter has good taste." Cao Liun and Qing Lian also touched the gold medal with a curious look on their faces. Just like that, this medal passed through the hands of the whole family. Yoon Daegyo smiled so hard that he couldn't see his eyes. "I have never worn these things in my life." "Okay." Yunsu handed out the box in his hand. "This is a gift for everyone." "You kid, you bought a gift before you left. Why do you bring gifts when you come back?" Cao Liun said angrily, but her face turned into a smile. I know, I understand everything. Yoon Daejin kept moving his hands. You don't know, my mobile phone has been blown up in the past few days. I don't dare to go back to school now. Yoon Xiao looked sweetly troubled. When I go back to school, they will definitely ask me what happened to Susu. It's really difficult to deal with. She hung on Yunsu like a koala. Yunsu had no choice but to say, come down first and I'll get it for you. Yoon Xiao moved faster than anyone else and had already opened it. Wow, although she had never used it, she knew the brand. This set of skincare products was not cheap, it was expensive. No, Yoon Daejin waved his hand. It's the relatives and friends from Xiashui town who called you to ask about you, and some familiar customers from our store who came to congratulate you. Agree, I'll go out and have a look in the afternoon. Yoon Daeguo agreed. Thank you, uncle, it's rare to eat your cooking. You buy something for use, how can you show its value by leaving it there? Yoon-soo came over and put it on her uncle herself. Yoon Daeguo also ran out when he heard the sound. He helped in the kitchen. Both Yoon brothers have good cooking skills, but Cao Liun has always been in charge of Yoon Daeguo, and he rarely cooks. Yoon-soo was helpless. Although he thought it was a bit exaggerated, he still did what they wanted. I actually have a sister who won the Fields Medal. Ah, Yoon Xiao was going crazy. Yoon-soo frowned, are you a reporter? Yoon-soo turned out the medal and handed it to her casually, holding several other boxes in his hand. Before she could finish her greeting, Yoon Xiao rushed up to her and gave her a bear hug. Ching Yu stood aside and was thoughtful. Okay, his niece put it on him personally, so he definitely wouldn't take it off. Okay, it's time to eat. Susu must be hungry. Ching Lian greeted everyone. Let's celebrate Susu's award together. Cheers. Yoon Daejin raised his glass. Cheers. The whole family is smiling and full of warmth. No matter how big the award she won, Yoon-soo was still a senior in high school after all. She would go back to school after a day of rest after going home. Wearing a mask, Yoon-soo looked at the large group of reporters squatting at the school gate. She frowned with a headache. She looked around and walked to the alley next to her. The back door of the first center, beside the wall. Hey! Which class are you in? How dare you climb over the wall and come in? You are very brave. A sharp shout came from the security guard patrolling the school. Yoon-soo climbed over the wall to avoid reporters. She sat on the wall and stared at the security guard. You're still not coming down, believe it or not, I will inform the director right away. The security guard looked angry. He had not seen such an arrogant student for a long time. Yoon-soo had no choice but to take off the mask and said, Uncle Wang, it's me. Security guard Uncle Wang slowly widened his eyes with surprise. Classmate Yoon, why is it you? A smile broke out on Uncle Wang's face. There are too many reporters at the school gate. So that's it, there's nothing we can do about it. We've said it, we've driven it away, but they still refuse to leave. That group of reporters is like a dogskin plaster. They are thick-skinned, not to mention patient. They have been squatting at the school gate for several days. Come down quickly, it's dangerous up there, be careful if I fall on you later. Uncle Wang looked worried. Yoon-soo was the school's treasured egg. If something happened to him, he was afraid that the principal would cry to death. Wait, it's too high. Wait for me and I'll find you a ladder. Hey, Uncle Wang, no need. Yoon-soo hurriedly stopped him, jumped down from the wall neatly, and landed firmly. Uncle Wang's heart skipped a beat. You kid, go back to the classroom quickly. Okay, thank you, Uncle Wang. Uncle Wang looked at Yoon-soo walking away with a loving expression on his face. What a good boy. How can classmate Yun's circumvention be called circumvention? Even if she crashed into the wall, the principal would probably applaud her. Yoon-soo stood in front of the teaching building with a dull face. Did the principal go too far? In the past, he only held banners, but now he directly made huge advertisements. She felt a headache when she looked at the photo of herself receiving the award posted on the teaching building. Yoon-soo took a deep breath, forget it, out of sight, and walked towards the office. Hey, Yoon-soo, are you back? Hee-kang, the class leader, raised his head and saw Yoon-soo coming in, and said in surprise. Well, teacher I'll cancel the leave. Okay, Hee-kang smiled broadly. Actually, with Yoon-soo's current grades, even a lot of schools where she is a professor are begging her to go. It is really rare that she can finish her senior year of high school step by step. Yoon-soo is back. Where is he? Where? Lao Li's voice sounded from far away to near. Seeing Yoon-soo in the office, Lao Li's eyes lit up, he strode forward and slapped her on the shoulder, well done. Yoon-soo grinned after being photographed. It's good to be back, look at this. Yoon-soo suddenly felt bad, I'm going back to the classroom first, teacher. Immediately apply oil on the soles of my feet and run away. Hey, why is she running away? Lao Li looked confused. Hee-kang rolled his eyes at him and said, you are going to give her questions when she comes back. It would be weird if you don't run away. No, Lao Li scratched his head, I just want to show her the comments on the internet that praise me. Hee-kang. Yoon-soo walked into the classroom, and the silent classroom suddenly boiled. Yoon-shen, you are finally back. Congratulations to Yoon-shen, Yoon-shen is awesome. Welcome the return of the cloud god. Suddenly, there was a commotion in the classroom. Several classrooms next door also heard the sound and cried with envy. They also wanted to be classmates with Yoon-shen. The head teachers of other classes were frustrated again. Why didn't they try harder to Yoon-soo over in the first place? School had just ended and Yoon-soo was about to leave the classroom when a figure hurried over. Sister Yoon, it's Lian-yu, fortunately you're here. Yoon-soo looked at Lian-yu who looked confused and frowned, what's wrong? My uncle just called and my aunt is about to give birth. Yoon-soo's expression changed. She counted the days and found that the due date was indeed these days. The doctor said that my aunt is at risk of hemorrhage. What should I do? Sister Yoon, what should I do? Lian-yu cried. He panicked as soon as he received the call. When he heard others saying that Yoon-soo had returned to school, he came to find him immediately. Yoon-soo had never seen him look so helpless before, and his face became more and more serious. Don't worry, I'll go to the hospital with you, and you can call Uncle Lian first. Okay, Lian-yu hurriedly took out his mobile phone and dialed. The two of them left the teaching building and were about to walk to the school gate when Yoon-soo suddenly remembered the group of reporters at the door. Go this way. The two of them climbed over the wall and left the school gate. Uncle Wang, who was watching the surveillance, turned away his eyes and took a sip of tea, as if nothing happened. End of this chapter. After Rebirth, Boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, Beautiful. Chapter 218. Chapter 218 Production Accident. Dr. Lee, the mother is almost out of strength. In the operating room, the nurse's voice was a little panicked, but the movements of her hands were not chaotic at all. Feed her something to eat? Good. The nurse peeled off the wrapping paper of the chocolate and fed it to Tan Kanyan's mouth. Ms. Eat something quickly. Don't sleep. You must not sleep. Lying on the operating bed, Tan Kanyan's face was as white as paper, her lips were bloodless, and her face was covered in sweat, as if she had been fished out of water. The severe pain in her body stimulated every cell in her body, but she felt not making any sound, he was completely exhausted. For a moment, Tan Kanyan wanted to pass out and not want to suffer this kind of torture again, but the contractions under her body reminded her that she couldn't sleep. The baby still needed her and needed her efforts to come into this world. Superior. This is the child she has been looking forward to for many years, and she must work hard to give birth to it. She struggled and ate the chocolate handed to her by the nurse. Come on, relax, follow my steps and breathe, 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 good, come again. The midwifery nurse tried to calm her down. The family sat outside waiting anxiously, feeling on pins and needles. The baby hasn't come out yet, so the mother can't use her strength. I'll call him quickly. Grandma Lian took out her cell phone. Yes. God, it's so hard for 11 Lai to have a baby, why is it so difficult? Please, please save my wife. If necessary, leave the child alone and save my wife, Lian Zile said with a trembling voice. The pain in his heart was like a roaring mountain and a tsunami, but he couldn't show it because now that Kanyin needs him, he must be steady. In their hearts, although children are important, if it comes to choosing between the two, they will definitely choose adults. Grandma Lian suddenly asked, where is Xiao? The nurse left the operating room, and the family members waiting outside immediately gathered around her. What? Grandma Lian felt dizzy instantly. Yes, yes, it's important, sir, Grandma Lian said, and Grandpa nodded. Don't worry, the doctor just said there is a risk. Okay, come here. Lian Zile comforted Lian Yu and said, his steady voice completely inconsistent with the expression on his face. The nurse hurriedly returned to the operating room. Where is the child? Secretary Lian, your wife's current situation is a bit complicated. She is bleeding a little and she is in advanced maternal age. We must be prepared for her heavy bleeding at any time. Half an hour later. Let me fight, Lian Zile said. Lian Zile covered her face and tried to calm down. I'm still at school, I haven't told him yet. Dr. Li frowned, looked at the mother who was exerting all her strength, and shook her head. The cervix dilated too fast, and there are lacerations on the cervix and soft birth canal. Please inform me that pregnant women are at risk of heavy bleeding, so be prepared for blood transfusions at any time. Nurse, let me ask how my wife is doing. Lian Zile's face was full of anxiety, and his usual calm expression was no longer there. Okay, now push slowly, concentrate, and push hard. Don't worry, we will do our best. Uncle, grandparents, how is Auntie? Lian Yu's voice rang, and he and Yunsu hurried over. Still inside, Lian 11 looked at the person behind him and was surprised. Susu, why are you here? Lian Yu, I came to see Sister Yun. He looked towards the operating room. Wouldn't the screams during childbirth be loud? Why didn't his aunt make a sound? Yunsu greeted several people and said, I heard that Aunt Tan is about to give birth. I came over to see if there is anything I can do to help. Grandma Lian's eyes were red. Good boy, you are willing, but there is nothing that needs help here now, you. Grandma Lian suddenly stopped talking. No, Susu, you are a doctor. Even Zile reacted and stood up suddenly, his eyes shining as if he had seen a savior. Just as he was about to say something, the door of the operating room suddenly opened. Talk about Kanyin's family. I'm here, Lian Zile replied reflexively. The mother is bleeding heavily, she needs a blood transfusion urgently, the nurse shouted. The baby hasn't come out yet. If the bleeding stops, the baby may be trapped inside and unable to come out. Lian Zile suddenly felt his eyes go dark, and the boundless darkness enveloped him. His heart seemed to be pulled hard by a big hand. He couldn't breathe and almost suffocated. Family members come to sign. The nurse took out a list. Lian Zile took it with trembling hands. His eyes flickered over giving up the child if necessary and accepting the consequences of the operation. His eyes hurt. He was holding a pen. He had spent half his life strategizing and doing things decisively, but he couldn't write. I can't sign that word that weighs as much as 1,000 pounds. Uncle Lian Yunsu stood beside him at some point and held his trembling hand. Maybe I can give it a try. Yunsu did not expect to talk about Kanyin's situation. It was also her fault. She had been in the wine city for 2 months and had so many things to do that she completely forgot to talk about Kanyan's upcoming birth. Although she had been recuperated by Tan Kanyan, the problems she had suffered for so many years could not be completely cured in one go. In addition, she was in advanced maternal age, so it was even more difficult to give birth. Lianzile's hand paused and he looked at her, his eyes full of seriousness, and his tone was soft and slow. Are you sure? Yunsu nodded. I can stop the bleeding. Okay. Lianzile's tone was terrifyingly calm. Zile, you are crazy. This is a hospital. How can we let Susu into the operating room? Let alone let her stop Kanyan's bleeding. Even grandma just thought about it. Yunsu's medical skills are very good, but they are still different after all. The gap between Chinese and Western medicine is too big, and Kanyan's condition is very critical. How can they dare to take this risk? Believe in Susu, Ayan and I's child may still be saved. Lian 11 came to understand Yunsu and knew that she was not someone who was aimless, let alone someone who was joking with her life. I also believe in Sister Yun, Lian Yu said. Grandma Lian wanted to say something else, but Grandpa Lian stopped her and shook his head. What do you need to prepare? Lianzile asked. A surgical gown is enough. Okay. Lianzile made a phone call. Yunsu quickly opened her backpack and took out the golden needle inside. Fortunately, she always carried this thing with her. Secretary Lian, said the hospital director who hurried over. Dean Zhang, my wife is bleeding heavily in the operating room right now. This is the medical skill I hired. Please let her into the operating room, Lianzile said in a serious tone. The dean looked at Yunsu next to him, stunned. Are you kidding me? Just this little girl? Secretary Lian, please stop joking. How is this possible? The dean waved his hands quickly with a firm look on his face. Our hospital will do our best to protect your wife and children. He looked at Yunsu with a growing sense of familiarity. Are you Yunsu? Seeing that he was recognized, Yunsu nodded. I am. Aren't you a mathematician? Why do you say you are a doctor? The dean was confused. He thought Secretary Lian was deceived just now, but now that the little girl is Yunsu, there is no deception. Situation, then what is going on? I am indeed a doctor. Dean Zhang, the matter is urgent. Please let her in. I will bear the consequences alone. Lianzile closed his eyes, and Ian could not wait any longer. The dean still shook his head. Secretary Lian, I really can't promise you this. This is against the rules, and we must be responsible for the patient. He understands the feelings of the patient's family, but rules are rules, and even if this little girl goes in, what help can she do? Yunsu saw that the dean was stubborn, so he had to use his trump card. Does Ji Sun Kaiu know? Ji Sun Kaiu? The dean nodded suspiciously. I know, but does it matter? He and I came from the same school, we are brothers and sisters. Yunsu still said brother and sister, not brother and sister, mainly because no one would believe him even if he said it. How is this possible? The dean's pupils shrank. Ji Sun Kai was a master of Chinese medicine. His teacher was a famous doctor, Ji Ruhui. But Mr. Ji Ruhui passed away 15 years ago. How could he be Yunsu's teacher? How could this little girl and Ji Sun Kai be brothers and sisters? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After Rebirth, Boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 219. Chapter 219. Mother and child are safe. Not just him, everyone was shocked. Yunsu ignored everyone's strange expressions, took out her mobile phone and called Ji Sun Kai directly. Hello, Yunsu, who had not been in contact for a long time, took the initiative to call him. Ji Sun Kai quickly answered the call with an excited tone. I'm in the hospital now. There's a mother here suffering from massive hemorrhage. I need to go into the operating room to stop her bleeding. No one is allowed in here. Please prove it to me. Yunsu didn't talk nonsense and got straight to the point. Which hospital? Saving people was the most important thing, and Ji Sun Kai also became serious. Tianjing Hospital. I'm nearby. I'll be here right away. I'll be there in a few minutes. Ji Sun Kai thought for a while. Is the name of the director of Tianjing Hospital Zhang Hai? Yunsu glanced at the nameplate on the dean's chest. Yes. Give him your phone and I'll tell him. Yunsu handed the phone to Dean Zhang, who was stunned. Zhang Hai took the phone blankly. Hello. President Zhang Hai, right, we met at the Southern Medical Association 2 years ago. Ji Sun Kai has a good memory. Yes, Zhang Hai replied subconsciously. Ji Sun Kai is really here? Drg, Yun, who is Dr. Yun and you? Zhang Hai couldn't find a suitable name for Yunsu for a while. Didn't I tell you? We are brothers and sisters. Ji Sun Kai looked at the closed operating room, his heart itching like a cat scratching. No, I have to go in and have a look. Secretary Lian, you must sign a letter of responsibility. Good. No, how could she be Ji Sun Kai's senior sister at her age? What went wrong? She's in. Lian Zile looked at Ji Sun Kai, who was rushing over, with surprise in his eyes. Senior sister, Zhang Hai was so surprised that his voice changed its tone. If he couldn't see how his senior sister saved people, he would definitely remember it all the time and wouldn't be able to sleep well at night. Ji Sun Kai rushed over as soon as she entered the operating room. Zhang Hai thought for a while and then said to Yunsu, also, if there is no effect within 20 minutes, please come out immediately and don't delay other doctors. This young mathematician who has just become famous in the world is actually the senior sister of Ji Sun Kai, a master of traditional Chinese medicine. These two irresistible people are actually brothers and sisters. Yunsu said these words, smiled confidently, walked into the preoperative preparation room, disinfected skillfully, and put on surgical clothes, as if he had done it thousands of times before. When he realized what he had promised, Zhang Hai regretted a little, but looking at the brightly lit operating room and the worried and anxious expressions of his family, he gritted his teeth and said, okay, I'll let you in, but you just do the bleeding part and leave the rest to the doctor. Lian Zile nodded, okay. Do you hear that clearly? The most important thing now is to save people. Ji Sun Kai didn't hear the answer, so he repeated it again. Yes, I will come to the hospital right away. What you have to do now is to do as my senior sister says. Trust her. I, Ji Sun Kai, will vouch for her. I will be responsible for any problems. 20 minutes, no need. Yes, you really Dr. Ji Sun Kai. Zhang Hai did meet Ji Sun Kai, but he didn't know that he still remembered him. This time, Zhang Hai did not stop him. When Ji Sun Kai came in to watch, he felt more at ease. Where is my senior sister? Ji Sun Kai also entered the operating room. Lian Zile and his family were waiting outside, feeling as if they were at the end of the world. There is also a worried Zhang Hai. He looks at the door of the operating room, hoping that they really can do something, right? Coming, Yunsu was not surprised to see Ji Sun Kai coming in. When he said he was coming over, Yunsu knew that he would definitely follow him into the operating room. Yunsu had already taken out the golden needle and disinfected it. Ji Sun Kai quickly stepped forward to help. Several doctors and nurses looked at the two people who were acting in perfect harmony and looked at each other. Isn't the director really crazy? He actually handed the patient into the hands of a little girl. The mask covered Ji Sun Kai's face. They had no idea that this person was Ji Sun Kai, the famous Chinese medical expert. Tan Kaiyan has almost passed out. Blood is pouring from her body. The blood transfusion equipment around her is running like crazy, but it cannot keep up with the speed of blood loss. On the monitor, her breathing and pulse are weakening little by little. In the interstellar era, she rescued countless people on the battlefield. To stop the bleeding, she only needed an injection of coagulant. But now, without that condition, she had to use a golden needle to save them. The situation was urgent. Yunsu no longer hesitated and gave the injection. "Ah!" Tan Kanyin shouted. Everyone outside the door suddenly tightened their hearts after hearing this. "What's wrong? What happened? Awake, are you awake?" The nurse on the side was dumbfounded. Tan Kanyin, who regained consciousness, looked at Yunsu, who was looking down at her, her eyes widening little by little. "Don't move," Yunsu said calmly. Tan Kanyin didn't move when he heard the words. He only felt the pain on his body as if he had been run over by a car. Yunsu continued to give a few more stitches with steady eyes and steady hands. Ji Sun Kai couldn't bear to blink, watching Yunsu's every move. This is the fastest she has ever done with an acupuncture. Her hands were rising and falling, making everyone tremble with fear. In the eyes of a group of doctors and nurses, the blood flow under Tan Kanyin, who was covered with needles, slowed down at a speed visible to the naked eye. In less than half a minute, the blood actually stagnated. The bleeding stopped. Everyone saw this fact, and the surgeon in charge murmured in disbelief, "How is this possible? How is this possible?" Yunsu's skill was beyond his medical knowledge. How could he stop the maternal bleeding with just a few needles? On the monitor, Tan Kanyin's breathing and pulse slowly increased, and she felt that the strength she had lost had returned. "What are you still doing?" Yunsu frowned and looked at the few people standing there. "The child hasn't come out yet." The surgeon in charge was also a person who had experienced countless big scenes. He quickly came to his senses, suppressed all the thoughts in his heart, and said to the nurse, "Prepare to inject uterotonics." Yes, the midwife leaned close to Tan Kanyin's ear again, her voice soft but powerful, "Come on, push hard, let's breathe together." Tan Kanyin's face was still pale, but her eyes were firm. She followed the nurse's rhythm and pushed hard. She would definitely give birth to this child. "Okay, the baby's head is out. Keep pushing. It's going to be fast. It's great. Keep going." The nurse's voice was pleasantly surprised. Yunsu, who stepped aside, looked at the scene and sighed in her heart about the greatness of maternal love. "Senior sister, how did you do that?" Ji Sun Kai's mind was filled with Yunsu's action of getting the needle, and he simulated it repeatedly in his mind. Yunsu didn't want to correct this awful name. There are 3 types of golden needle acupoints: opening acupoints, passing acupoints, and this is the last one, closing acupoints. Ji Sun Kai nodded thoughtfully. "I'll teach you next time." "Okay." Ji Sun Kai was extremely excited. "The baby is out." Less than half an hour later, the nurse shouted in surprise, and Yunsu and Ji Sun Kai looked over. A crumpled baby appeared in the doctor's hands. The nurse cut the umbilical cord and showed the baby to Tan Kanyin, who was weak. Tan Kanyin looked at the red baby that looked like a little old man, with endless tenderness in her eyes. This was her child, the child of her and Zillet. She did it and successfully gave birth to a child. After feeling relieved, she couldn't control her physical fatigue and fell into a deep sleep. The nurse used a suction device to go deep into the baby's mouth and nasal cavity, out the amniotic fluid and other residues, and then gently patted the baby's little feet. "Wow, wow." A cry sounded in the operating room, and everyone breathed a sigh of relief. "Zillet, why did I hear the child's cry? Did I hear it wrong?" Grandma Lian asked her son in a daze. "I heard it too." Grandma Lian Yu jumped up. Even Zillet stood up suddenly and walked quickly to the door of the operating room. Zhang Hero was so fast in his dream. How can it be? How on earth did she do it? The door opened, and Yunsu and Ji Sun Kai came out and took off their masks. "Sister Yun, how are you?" Lian Yu asked anxiously. Yunsu looked at him and said, "Good news or bad news, which one do you want to hear?" As soon as the others heard Yunsu's joking words, they knew that everything was fine, and they breathed a sigh of relief. Lian Yu didn't react yet, and his heart dropped. What good news? It's better to hear the good news first so that he can be mentally prepared. The good news is that mother and child are safe. What? The huge surprise stunned even the family, and they were ecstatic. Aunt Tan is fine, and the baby is also healthy. Congratulations, Uncle Lian, Yunsu said with a smile on her face. Thank you, Susu Lianzila's voice was choked with sobs. He had never felt as frightened as he did today. What should Kanyan do if there is something wrong with the child? Good boy, thank you for your hard work, thank you. Grandma Lian held Yunsu's hand and spoke incoherently. Even Grandpa's eyes were red. I should do it, Grandma Lian, Yunsu comforted her. The family was immersed in joy, but Lian Yu stupidly asked, "What's the bad news, isn't everything fine?" Yunsu suppressed a smile and said, "Didn't I tell you everything? Mother and son are safe." She emphasized the pronunciation of one word. Lian Yu was frozen for a moment. He thought about this sentence 3 times in his mind before he realized it. The expression on his face was complicated, like crying, but also smiling. It's okay, just be safe." He was really scared today. Living. People can't be too greedy and ask for so much. It's not bad to have a younger brother. Lian Yu tried to comfort himself and ignore the regret and loss in his heart. The whole family was amused by his expression. The nurse came out with the cleaned child in her arms. The family quickly gathered around and watched the little child sleeping soundly in the nurse's arms, being careful not to touch it. Isn't this too small? And he looks. She looks so cute, look at her little hands and feet, Grandma Lian said with a loving look on her face. Cute. Did his grandma have any misunderstanding about this word? Lian Yu couldn't take a glance at it. Even Grandpa knew what he was thinking at a glance. You were uglier than this when you were a child. How is it possible? Lian Yu firmly didn't believe it. The nurse was amused. All newborn babies are like this. They will grow out in 2 days. This is already the most beautiful baby I have ever seen. Lian Yu was doubtful. Lian 11 looked at the child and then at the operating room. Where is my wife? As soon as he finished speaking, the nurse pushed Tan Kanyan out, and Lianzila felt nervous. The nurse explained, the mother was tired and fell asleep. Lianzila's high heart felt relieved again. He looked at Tan Kanyan, who looked weak all over her body, and touched her face gently. Thank you, Ayan. Thank you for working so hard to give birth to our baby, thank you for making me a father, thank you for making our family finally happy. End of this chapter. After Rebirth, Boss, she is beautiful and sassy. Author, beautiful. Chapter 220. Chapter 220. Stay calm in times of crisis. Ji Sun Kaiu took off his mask, and the doctor who just came out immediately opened his eyes in disbelief. Zhang Hai immediately greeted him, Dr. Ji, you. Sorry, I still have something to do. Let's go ahead and talk next time. Ji Sun Kaiu smiled apologetically. He was only here because of something to do. If it weren't for Yunsu, he wouldn't have come. Zhang Hai's words were stuck in his mouth, and he could only say, okay. Ji Sun Kaiu said to Yunsu again, Senior sister, I will go find you in a few days. Yeah, Yunsu nodded casually. Hearing the title Senior Sister, the eyes of the doctor behind him almost popped out of his head, looking suspicious of life. You, this. He couldn't speak clearly. Come with me. Zhang Hai wanted to know what happened in the operating room just now. The doctor followed him with a confused look on his face. Okay, I'll come to eat next time. Yunsu nodded with a smile. I'll treat you to dinner another day. Okay, I'm leaving. Okay, you go up and comfort Grandpa Lian and Grandma Lian, they were quite frightened today. Yunsu saw that nothing was going on here, so he was ready to leave. Okay, Xiao, go and see Susu off. Grandma Lian wiped her tears and held her hand. Good boy, Grandma will make you whatever you want to eat. Isn't it just flour cakes? Grandma will make it for you. You can make as much as you want. Uncle Lian, I'm going to leave now. I'll come back to see Aunt and the baby in 2 days. Okay, I'll go back first. How could she not know that Yunsu said it casually, but since the child said that, they would be offended if they insisted on saying something else. Lianzilla looked at her and said seriously, Susu, you have helped our Yun family a lot this time. I really don't know how to thank you. Then, be careful of your measure. If something happens, be gentle. The fright has passed long ago. I'm not sure how happy I am now. Lian Yu still knew his family very well. Slow down and pay attention to your safety. Uncle Lian, don't say such superficial things. I will definitely help wherever I can. If I really want to thank you, I want to eat the flour cake made by Grandma Lian. Lian Yu. I thought of her terrifying force value. Yunsu raised his eyebrows. Should I pay attention to my safety? Lian Yu and Yunsu walked out of the hospital, and Yunsu was about to take a taxi back. What a big deal. Sister Yun, thanks to you this time. Lian Yu looked grateful. If it weren't for Sister Yun's presence, he wouldn't have dared to imagine what would have happened. Fortunately, not bad, God bless. After Lian Yu watched Yunsu get into the car, he returned to the ward. Tan Kanyin was still asleep and his uncle was watching over him. Uncle, where are Grandma and the others? Going to see the baby. The baby had just been born and was still in the nursery. Even the grandmothers ran to see the baby, leaving space for Lianzilla and the two of them. Oh, thinking of the baby's wrinkled face, Lian Yu decided to look at it in 2 days. Dong dong dong, there was a knock on the door. Is Lianzilla's secretary? Enter. Secretary Lu entered the ward and whispered, Secretary, there is an urgent meeting over there. Lianzilla frowned, didn't I say not to disturb me today? But. Secretary Lu hesitated. Uncle, you go and do your work first. I'll keep an eye on my aunt. Lian Yu said quickly, I'll let you know as soon as my aunt wakes up. Lianzilla thought about it and said, okay. He stood up, walked to Lian Yu, patted his shoulder, and said with a look of relief, you have grown up. To be honest, he didn't think today that Lian Yu would immediately think of calling Yunsu, but luckily he brought Yunsu with him, otherwise, he couldn't even imagine what would happen. He used to think that Lian Yu was still young, had a noisy temper, and was still a naive child. But what happened today allowed him to see Lian Yu's characteristic of being calm in the face of danger, and he was shocked to realize that this was what he had watched since childhood. The grown-up children have grown up. Lian Yu turned away, with an awkward look on his face. I've grown up, okay. Okay, okay, you did a good job this time. What reward do you want? Lian Yu's eyes lit up, really? Lianzilla immediately knew what he was thinking, and immediately added, if the car doesn't work, I've already bought one for you. Okay. Lian Yu slumped his shoulders in disappointment, forget it, you should keep it to buy milk powder for my brother. You kid. Lianzilla laughed, take good care of your aunt, I'll be back soon. Nu. Lianzilla and his secretary left in a hurry. On the other side of the hospital, Zhang Hai and the doctor just now looked serious. Are you sure that she really only used some gold needles to stop Ms. Lian's bleeding? It's absolutely true. Speaking of what just happened, the doctor still feels like he's in a dream. Golden needle. Zhang Hai murmured, not knowing what he thought of, and suddenly his eyes widened. Golden needle passed through the acupuncture point. It turned out to be a golden needle passing through the acupuncture point. The doctor obviously knew what these 4 words meant. He was shocked, no way. Isn't it all lost? And there are many people who don't believe that the golden needle passing through acupoints really exists. We can't believe what happened today. Zhang Hai also had a look of confusion on his face. Didn't you hear just now? What did Ji Sun Kai call her? The doctor also remembered, senior sister, he thought it was his auditory hallucination. How is this possible? That's Ji Sun Kai. How could she be Ji Sun Kai's senior sister? Let's not talk about the age gap between the two, but Ji Sun Kai is a master of Chinese medicine. How could that little girl be ranked above him? How terrifying is that little girl's medical skills? And the outside world had never heard that Ji Sun Kai had a senior sister, nor had they heard that the late Mr. Ji Ruhui had such a junior disciple? Isn't that little girl Ji Ruhui's student? Looking for autumn that season. The two of them looked at each other, as if they knew something extraordinary. Yunsu on the other side had no idea how much shock she had caused to others today. She received a call from Jun Wei. The shooting competition was about to start, and he asked Yunsu to get ready. Yunsu suddenly realized that there had been so many things going on recently that she almost forgot about it. End of this chapter.